Now, the administrator of the Minerals Development Fund.
That's right.
Is in the news.
Again.
Because this time around, the Minerals Development Fund, their Corporate Affairs Department, has been clarifying issues. Before I bring you the statement, please listen to this. And then right after this, I'll share her statement with you.
Mineral Development Fund say you were act. Intimate act in Majumebia, including President Obia Yahweh of Ejumedia.
So Sector Minister Yahweh.
Why not say when you secret
in your movement?
They say when me movement, I mean country Obia.
Only not even the interior or
me pacho. Me say I'll not tell anybody until I finish. Me kon ma country say me kon. Ebia men kaso no, ebia nko no edin ko. Oh. Hana krane me kasa o si okoha not in a bad way. Yeah. Thank you. Nyanko le me ambush nyanko kume. It will not happen.
So none of your movement be no Sector Minister Yahweh.
Me move vie de Yahweh.
Like okoye ni oye ni wi.
Exactly, because many intelligence are not tell anyone. Min can't robia. Woman me new move office ko ni pombe can't rob we catch media phone. Tini ni me media bebre ni omo nanten. Omo kra ne be ka first time now omo holding hostage me. I had only one prayer. I'm say rather me pouch. BBC kra memma ensem for no honka. Free said they didn't know where we go. 9 p.m. near Komo Yanda. We traveled throughout the night. By 5 a.m. near our location. Enti me beka for what?
The 40 excavators in a way.
Me pacho sambren na mini lobe ena me frefre ni esio watch ade na ka 7 ehona tie ehonum na mini prosini no commander ne kokontokwan enti we dia 7 nyan ne dia machi akosio
40 excavators na ochi ya na wunya low bed no ade ya bechi onya low bed ko e free 40 abana be ka 7.
Yes sir.
33 etimi free nguremu.
Yes, enti this time now me call at the time no dey me the engineers call uniform and non-uniform, both military and police ekoi ena mesomeshe sheme fisa na no mututu atio na nsan de mule ambush enti ya kono ye niema wie na engineers no so mo de tracker bo ho na maye na ye ntimi movie a no musoso ehun se ye no factory na tracker nka enti omo nimdie esi from no makeka na emesi
27 away.
Yeah.
7 excavators.
Me patcho ye 8. The next number sa kwa kofa 2 account.
So that's Dr. Hannah Louisa Bisi Kote.
Yeah.
The administrator of the Minerals Development Fund. Now, Blessed, we have a statement from the Minerals Development Fund.
There is a statement.
What she said in this thing is that they arrested arrested persons with 40 excavators. So they seized those 40 excavators. Now, the next day when she went there, they were left with 7. And she says it's the reason she had to fight with a police commander. And nunti na many police commander kokunye no. What is the Minerals Development Fund saying?
Okay, it's quite a lengthy statement, but because she's laid the background to that indeed 40 excavators were unearthed, this is the position of the Minerals Development Fund. They're saying that they identified 40 excavators per the statement that were actively engaged in widespread environmental degradation. Now, recognizing the scale of illicit operations, the MDS staff took a decisive action, immediately halting their activities to arrest the pervasive destruction. Now, the MDF administrator subsequently liaised with the law enforcement agencies to arrange for formal seizure and custody of the machinery the next day. It must be emphasized that the Minerals Development Fund and the officers linked to this operation had a low or lacked manpower, actually, the capacity to haul all of these 40 excavators that we're talking about. So their point is that they unearthed or identified 40 excavators upon getting to the grounds in a conference. After identifying the 40, because they did not have enough men on the ground, they liaised with the police service to take official custody of all of these 40 excavators. However, quote, upon arrival of law enforcement officers at the remote site the following morning, it was then discovered that about 33 of them had been moved away overnight. So that's the position of the Minerals Development Fund, trying to state that, well, they went in there, they carried out the operation. In fact, I was part of that operation as well. And so what they did not have enough police officers. What they had were some national security persons and some members of the Ghana Police Service.
You are saying they didn't have enough police officers.
Right.
Did they have police officers?
There were some police officers, and knowing that these excavators would need low birds to be carted out of the forest, they couldn't do that immediately. So it's a case of, well, we've identified the machinery that was causing the destruction, except to say that by the time we had sent our men to take them up, then these people were out of the forest.
This is my challenge with this statement. Upon arrival, the team unearthed a fleet of approximately 40 excavators.
That's right.
Actively engaged in widespread environmental degradation. Recognizing the scale of the illicit operation, the MDF staff took decisive action, immediately halting the activities to arrest pervasive destruction. The MDF administrator subsequently liaised with law enforcement to arrange for the formal seizure and custody of the machinery the next day.
That's right.
It must be emphasized that the MDF officers lacked the manpower capacity to haul the machines at the time of discovering the illegal mining site. However, upon the arrival of law enforcement officers at the remote site the following morning, it was discovered that about 33 of the excavators
had been moved. Yes.
But you say you went there with national security operatives and some police officers.
Yes,
that is not captured in this statement. Now, this is what the statement seeks to do. The statement creates the impression that they actually liaised to have the police show up the following day. Meanwhile, you were on that team, and you have just confirmed to us that you had policemen and national security operatives as part of the team.
So, here's what they did. As part of the raid, the initial raid was on the homes of the Chinese nationals who were allegedly engaged in illegal mining. So immediately we got into the community. These homes were the initial or immediate target. After arresting them, that team, obviously, they had the initial intent to arrest those who were equally on the side. So they took the Chinese nationals to the concession site itself, where they were doing their illegal operations. Now, having arrested all these people, you equally have the machinery, about 40 of them, and of course, looking at the sheer size of these excavators, and having to choose between the Chinese nationals who were engaging in illegal mining and the machinery that was there, you would want to first of all arrest the people. So the arrest was done. They took all of these over 14 Chinese nationals to the Ashanti Regional Police Command, because the initial demand from these vigilante boys who were in the community was that they would not allow the Chinese nationals to be taken all the way to the regional command. That's where they began to pull out their guns. So that's the context as to how the Chinese nationals were the initial focus of the policemen who were on the ground.
The team had policemen as part of it.
Yes, that's true.
And so which other law enforcement agencies was the administrator of the Minerals Development Fund liaising with? Was she calling for a backup? That is not what I get in this statement. And it leads me to the conclusion that this is after the fact. What this statement seeks to do is actually, because the administrator was clear when she got this, and she says, and that is why I fought with the police. Listen to this, listen to her. So how did she fight with the police if the police only were informed to show up the following day? If you ask me to show up the following day and I show up the following day, how do you fight me?
I don't.
No, well, I'm coming. Because you've made the point that the police was the policemen part of the team. National security guys part of the team. What did they do?
Okay, that's why I'm giving context to it.
So they went to arrest the Chinese.
There was a decoy, because even at some point.
Yeah, but did they accompany you to the concession site where the excavators were?
They did.
They were there.
Yes, okay, but I mean, looking at the vehicle that was even used as a decoy to this forest reserve, ordinarily these officers could not have done anything, because if you're moving in to pick excavators, then you would need lowbers, because these are huge equipment that you would need obviously a lowber to cut out of the forest. And I must say and provide context that between the Ninahin District Police Office and this reserve where the operations was happening, you would drive for about, I think, 40 to 50 minutes just to get to the heart of the forest where the activity was happening. So if you have officers from the command, the regional command, joining you in, excuse my language, an oven, right? The initial focus then was to raid the homes of the Chinese nationals, pick up their ammunition, the guns, and everything they were with, and then subsequently reinforcement will do that operation. So as for the arrest, yes, officially you can say, well, we've impounded this vehicle, but by the time you would call for reinforcement, these illegal miners are so smart, so powerful that you may not find them the next morning. So probably they were outsmarted, if you want to call it that way.
The point is that, so the statement should indicate that the call for reinforcement, I mean, may have delayed, or by the time the reinforced team came back to the site, the excavators were missing. The truth is that if you don't have low beds to transport the excavators to, the police station or a safe place, and you leave the excavators in the forest, and you do not, say if you're unable to incapacitate them, or you don't put a track out, you will come back and not find them. The guys will take it away. So, and they know they are engaged in illegality. Even if you take the battery, they would put another one on it, and they would take it away. But this is what I see in this statement. I mean, this is after the fact. The point is that there were police members in the team, there were national security operatives in the team. However, these excavators, 40 by the following day, were left with 7. Then we started a conversation about how we can, deal with the situation going forward. So for me, that's the most important thing. Maybe we'll try. I'm sure Sami will try and get the corporate affairs team of the Minerals Development Fund subsequently, because you have provided additional information that actually creates a bit of difficulty for their own statement that they've put out.
Well, I don't think it's a difficulty. Of course, if you have the benefit of going into the operation itself, and the equipment is huge.
See,
and
that's not in doubt.
We'll give some room to the security men who went with us, because this is a highly dangerous operation. They couldn't have focused on the equipment, knowing so well that you equally have individuals, Chinese nationals, some of the gun wielding guys, who were also there to deal with. So if you had an option in that forest reserve, in that bush where you don't have reinforcement, your initial attempt would be to accost all these individuals and charge them.
You know what?
So I think that was the initial focus.
Yes, you. I agree with you.
Yeah.
The point I am making is this: simply, the statement doesn't tell me that there were police people in the team. The statement creates the impression that the police were actually informed to show up the following day. So my point is that if you had policemen in the team, the challenge is what the administrator said is the situation. There were no low beds. You can't transport them. So don't come back and create the impression that, that wasn't the case. We had arranged with the police to come the following day, and by the time they got there, the things, whatever it is, you had policemen within the team. Then once you don't have a low bed, and we have all said, don't burn excavators. Okay, we've criticized the former government for burning excavators. So that's not something that you do. So the administrator is talking about how to go about it. And that's why I say this is after the fact. Let's look at how to deal with this situation going forward. Okay, yes, the situation, and the situation for them as a government will say, they were missing excavators some years ago, and they're missing excavators again. So what do we do? But I say the point is that if you went into the forest, seized excavators in the forest, and it got missing, at that point in time, they were not in police custody, they were not, I'd say, the Ashanti Regional Police Command, for you to say, okay, I put this in the care of the police, where are they? So that's what I'm saying. But I say this is after the fact.